Systems thinking world was established with a belief that a systemic perspective provides the best foundation for creating effective approaches for dealing with challenges and shaping a better tomorrow. And we chose a purpose to create content and foster interactions between people, which furthers that understanding of a systemic perspective and enables people to think and act systemically. And I'm pretty comfortable that systems thinking world has remained consistent with this purpose over the last 3 years. Now, Adventures in Wonderland is our latest endeavor in this direction. During 2012, we did quite a few webinars on various aspects of systems thinking, though there was always an annoyance associated with doing them in that there are a number of shortcomings inherent in doing webinars, in that how do you schedule them to accommodate people in 24 different time zones, and the amount of content that you want to convey to people is something that doesn't fit in an hour. And an hour is an awful long time to sit and listen to somebody ramble on about something anyway. And for people to try and schedule themselves to actually attend several sequential sessions is next to impossible, and watching a 1-hour recording of the webinar afterward is probably about as exciting as watching paint dry. So the question has continued to be, how do we in fact put all of this content that we think is quite relevant in a form that allows people to interact with it and consume it in a manner that's comfortable to them on their own, whenever the time is convenient for them. So Adventures in Wonderland is in fact a mind map of sorts developed in a software environment called co-mapping, and the map itself is embedded in this web page, which is the main entry page on Systems Wiki, so it's not hard to find. If you go to systemswiki.org, you end up there. And the map is a number of learning threads, which are composed of modules made up of different components, sometimes insight maker models, which may be qualitative models or actual simulation models, links to LinkedIn discussions, links to YouTube videos, with a short discussion about that particular node in the learning thread. And if one, after reviewing this particular element, watching the video, going to the Insight Maker model, one can then continue to pursue this thread as it walks out, based upon a level of interest and time available. And you can migrate through this simply by clicking and opening and closing various aspects. So there are a number of different learning threads. All of the content that we developed for the webinars during 2012 are available in this map at the moment, so that it's all readily accessible. A number of revisions are going to have to be made based upon altering the structuring, where we were doing videos in an 8 to 12 minute format. They're now more in a 4 to 6 minute format. In other words, it's being chunked more tightly. So if you click on, in other words, there's a legend down here that tells you what these things stand for. If I click on the Insight Maker model for Adventures in Wonderland, it takes me to that particular model in Insight Maker, and I can walk through the definition of this model. So that I said it was to overcome webinar shortcomings, and this is what I'm describing now is pretty much the architecture of the individual modules that we're creating for these learning threads, so that each element of the thread is represented by an Insight Maker model, which is a representation of a relationship of some number of entities. That model itself is queued with one or more tags to make them readily findable. Each element in the model has a description, and if you mouse over the item and click on it, it will show you the description for that individual item. Elements may link to models which further elaborate the element, and they'll look like links. So this is an element in this model, and don't get overly concerned about this model being really meaningful. It was just hacked together to provide some connections to use in this particular video. But for those elements of the model that link to other models, if you click on them, it will take you to another Insight Maker model that describes that concept in more detail, so that the layering goes up and down depending upon your level of interest and current level of expertise. You don't have to pursue further understanding of things that you already understand, and you don't have to sit and wait for somebody to talk through them to get to the part that you're really interested in. There may be a references item on the Insight Maker model which will contain links to additional information about the concept represented by this model. There may be a link to a LinkedIn discussion relevant to this particular model, so that if you have comments about the model itself, you can go someplace and actually leave comments. As I said, there's a layering here so that you can zoom into more detail. You can also zoom out to more expansive views of the concepts in certain places, depending upon the concept associated with this particular model. And the model itself, once it's created, it's the basis for creating a video, as the one that you're listening to now, which is an unfolding of the model with a voiceover. And that video then gets put into YouTube, and a link is actually created in the Insight Maker model, so that if you click that link in the model, it will take you to YouTube and the actual video that you're watching at the moment. And the last piece is that that model gets added to the Wonderland map as an element in this learning thread that migrates out based upon the appropriate way that we perceive this concept should unfold. Now, if you go to one of the Insight Maker models itself, they're created by me, so I own them. But if you in fact want to use this model for something else, all you have to do is click Duplicate Insight. It will create a clone of this model, which then belongs to you, and you can have at it and modify it in any way that's appropriate to serve your own needs. As for what's going on over here with all these buttons, there's a setup and display that I just used to unfold this model. There's another set of buttons that is used so that one can walk through all of the notes associated with the elements of this model. And there's also an all button which will take all of the notes and put them into a form that you could copy them and paste them somewhere else. In the older models, you'll notice that there are 6 or 7 buttons in the sequence. The approach for doing this has in fact evolved, and we're now going to a 4-button approach, which is a little bit streamlined. It works a little bit better, so that when you click setup, it'll ask you, do you want to unfold the model? I say yes. Do you want to display the notes? I say yes. In that case, when I display, it will unfold the model and show you the notes at the same time that it's presenting you with the elements of the model. And you can still do a display all of the notes, though when you come here, you could say, I actually don't want to unfold the model, I just want to sequence the notes. Therefore, the whole model will remain in view, and you just walk through the notes to each one of the elements in the model to give you a better understanding. And this one is about to be recorded, so there isn't a video attached to it at the moment. So this is hopefully a better introduction to the concepts of Adventures in Wonderland than have been on the previous 3 versions of this video. And I'm encouraged because things seem to have stabilized, and I'm not redoing everything every couple of days, so I can actually begin to move forward and quit being so redundant. So the mind map of Adventures in Wonderland is a number of learning threads which have notes attached to each element of the thread, so that you can walk through, figure out which aspect of it is of most interest to you. You can watch the video about that node, or you can go to an Insight Maker model, which is a conceptual view of what's considered to be relevant to that node. And we'll continue to evolve them. And if you have any comments, please go to the LinkedIn discussion about Adventures in Wonderland and provide some thoughts about how we continue to improve on this, so that it creates a better environment for one to understand and employ systems thinking concepts. Have a great day. See you in another video probably real soon. Bye.